All right. So today we have Megan Brickwood for our Atelier talk today. How are you, Megan?
Hello. I'm good. Thank you. How are you, Nathan?
Doing great.
Good
Yeah,
to
so
see you.
right on. So what you been up to?
Just been kind of laying low, trying to write a bunch of stuff while it's quiet, and I've been reading a lot actually. I've been making a point to read some things that have been on my list for a while and revisit some of my old favorite books. So that's been quite a nice escape and a good creative outlet when it's like you can't really go anywhere and kind of
Mm,
glean energy from the world around you. So it's been a good way for me to kind of like transport myself into a different world and get some ideas there. So
yeah, would you be kind enough to share what some of those books are?
yeah, of course. I
Yes.
just recently read I read one I actually didn't care for very much, so I won't talk about that one. But that there was that one. Then I recently read The Dutch House, which I
Hmm.
think was published pretty recently. That's like a good kind of I don't want to call it lightweight because it's not, but it's kind of like a modern day fairy tale or something like that. It chronicles the story of these two siblings who are really close, and their family falls on some, or they kind of fall on some difficult times through some mistakes that their family makes and some unfortunate things that happen. And so it chronicles their kind of relationship and journey into adulthood through those times. And and just what happens to their family. It's a really interesting book. Like I thought it was a really interesting look at human nature and people's relationships and kind of how we support and let each other down. I really enjoyed it. The characters were really vivid. Um, and then another one that I read recently is called How to Do Nothing. Oh, who's it by? Jenny Odell. God, I
Hmm.
was like, I'm not gonna get this
Yeah.
author's name, but it came back to me. So she writes an interesting commentary on social media culture. And what I
Mm,
really liked about it was a really kind of holistic, well-rounded look at how it affects our lives and the way that we think of the world and ourselves. It wasn't just a broad-handed critique of it
mm,
or like slamming millennials or anything like that. It was more kind of inviting us to engage a little bit more critically and like consciously with the social media platforms and think about ways to kind of distance yourself from it and not be totally engrossed in it or sort of led along by
mm,
it.
yeah.
um, so I really enjoyed those two, and I'm currently rereading the Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver,
Mm,
which is a story of a missionary family that goes into the Congo in the 60s
oh,
and
wow.
everything that transpires from that. So it's a really interesting portrait of the political landscape at the time and also the kind of turmoil and survival of this family. So those are a few, and I'm almost done with Poisonwood Bible. I don't know what I'm going to read next, but
Hmm. That's really
yeah,
cool. Would you say that some of your reading impacts your songwriting?
I think so. I mean, I feel like it kind of always has. I was an English major in school, and literature has always been a big part of my life.
Mm,
And so I think that reading through like those different modes of storytelling and narrative and all of that and imagery really definitely impacts the way that I write. I think I tend to be drawn um, to books that are kind of immersed and set in nature.
mm,
And so, especially when if like I can't go and participate in nature as much, if I
mm,
read a book that's really set in like Poisonwood Bible is set vividly in the jungle of the Congo. So if I have some of that imagery in my head or something that's set in Alaska, that definitely sparks some imagination for me and imagery that is really conducive to lyric writing, especially. I think.
mm.
Yeah.
An English major. I didn't know that. That's
Yes.
so
You
cool.
didn't?
I
Oh,
don't think
yeah.
so. Yeah, that's rad. So I guess I'm
Thanks.
wondering too, because I know a lot of songwriters that will write their lyrics before they find a melody for them, and then a lot of songwriters that will have a melody and kind of hear the words within that melody and then put the puzzle together that way.
Right. Yeah.
Is there one that you tend to lean towards, or you do both, or?
I feel like for me, most of the time, they kind of come together simultaneously, at
Mm,
least initially. So I'll kind of, every once in a while, I will scribble down a line or something, like an idea that pops into my head in a notebook first. And every once in a while, I'll just hear a melody in my head that then I try to find lyrics for. But most of the time, they tend to, if something just pops into my head, it pops into my head like all as one piece, a melody with lyrics attached to it. Or I'll kind of sit at the guitar or the piano, guitar more recently,
Hmm.
and kind of play with something, and melody and lyrics will start just kind of coming out organically together. And then that's usually, sometimes that's a first verse, second verse, sometimes it's a chorus. I don't know what it is right away until I kind of keep working through it. And then after that, I'll have some semblance of a structure and something that's like, okay, well, this is a verse. And then I'll start trying to write another verse or think about a chorus. But the next things tend to come out all as one piece. And sometimes I'll go back and look at the lyrics that came out and try to replace them, or think of something that might be a little bit stronger, something like that. But usually it's all kind of together. And I'll kind of keep kind of writing until I have um, multiple different whole pieces that I can kind of figure out how they all fit together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's super
Yeah.
rad. That's
Thanks.
super cool. Yeah. And so you have a song called Patchwork Sky that just
I
released
I
this week.
do. Yeah.
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 And I'm really excited to hear all about that process that you went through writing that one, and kind of what some of that symbolism means for you. But before we talk about it, let's have a listen.
I'm driving down that old country road, and the patchwork sky shines so bright for me today. And I'm thinking of all the boys that came before you, passing over like a wind, just as soon they blow away again. And it seems to me I've got too much left to do, and I'm only 23. Shed another light before noon. Tell me time will always be there for free, there for free. I'm driving down that old country road, and the rolling hills share my secrets with the wind. And I'm thinking of all the stories I remember. Seems like it was someone else, 20 years just sitting on the shelf. And it seems to me I've got too much left to do, and too little room to breathe. Shed another light before noon. Tell me time will always be there for free, there for free. I'm driving down that old August red road, and I think my life is like that patchwork sky. Every cloud that passes by is something I'm learning while I'm looking for the light. And I'm looking for a light. I'm still looking for a light. I'm still looking for a light. And the patchwork sky shines so bright for me today.
Awesome. Yeah, the first thing that stood out to me was the title. Yeah, would you talk about how you came up with the title?
Yeah, of course. This one is very, some songs come out of a place of kind of imagining, and they're a little bit personal and a little bit fiction, and that kind of organically just comes together. This one is really just straight out of my life. So
Mm,
um, the Patchwork Sky is both like it's a day that I remember really
mm,
vividly of a drive that I took through my hometown in Reading. It also has symbolism, of course, which is I was at this really kind of confused, turbulent time in my life when a lot of things were changing. Some of them were good, some of them bad, some of them were just different things that I wasn't used to. I wrote the song when I was 23.
mm,
And so Patchwork Sky was literally this sky that I was looking at. I mean, kind of looking at as I was driving, not unsafely, just it was overhead. I wasn't driving like this, looking up at it.
I have
But I
done
was
that
thinking,
before, though.
I mean, sometimes it gets beautifully distracting up there, that's for sure. But I
Hmm.
was driving along and I was kind of roiling around with all of these things that I was struggling with, and trying to feel like I had could find some peace in myself and my life,
Mm,
and a sense of clarity about what I should do. And overhead the sky was just like this mix of clouds and sky and light and dark, and it was all kind of changing overhead above me.
mm,
And so in the song, that symbolizes the way that your life is always changing, and there's always bits of good and bad and dark and light. And there's not like a perfect answer that you can find through that, or a time when really it all just clears up, and then
mm,
everything is clear from that point. What you have is the interplay of all of these different things and elements, and what you have is what you can learn from that as you go along. And it's always
mm,
an imperfect answer, and you kind of have to take it as a cohesive, imperfect, mismatched whole that is beautiful in its own way. So that
hmm,
was kind of the piece that I arrived at on that drive that day, and that's
mm.
sort of where it ends up in the song. That's your little bit of hope, is that there's always light in with the dark.
Yeah.
There's always like this beautiful changing tapestry that is your life, and you don't have to know exactly what you're supposed to do or exactly what the right answer is. And none of us ever really do,
Mm,
completely. You have moments of clarity, just like you have the moment of clarity when the sun breaks through the clouds, and then you're on to the next thing. And it's always an
mm.
imperfect picture, and trying to make peace with the fact that's okay. um,
Yeah.
so that's what that symbolizes in the song.
Yeah, I love how the music like starts to resolve, especially at the end. But you're
Right.
singing like I'm still looking for light. So
Yeah.
just like you were saying, it's like the music makes you feel peace. But if you just heard those words, you'd feel like someone was like longing for something, or like right, there was like a piece missing and they had to find it. But when you hear it with the
Exactly.
music, I feel like it really expresses what you're saying.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that that is felt. That's the intention. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an imperfect piece, but still meant to be a profound kind of piece, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a hopeful
Exactly.
message because like you're right, like we're not always in these like places of rest and then of work and rest. Like sometimes we just have to like keep working towards something or searching. And if you can
Exactly.
find like resolve within that, that's kind of ideal.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So that's my hope.
Yeah.
And that's an ongoing process. That song for me is kind of always true, no matter where. I wrote it when I was 23, and like over the past few years, it's kind of always true for me, and it always kind of
Mm,
grounds me in something that I'm like, it brings me back to home or something like that. And
mm,
I think it's because we're always, no matter where we are in our lives, working through something or working towards something else. And so some songs that I've written, it's like I have to go back to a memory of something that isn't necessarily true for me in the present moment. But this one always feels present. I always feel like I'm connected to it when I sing it or perform it for people. So it fills a special place for me in that sense.
Yeah, and I mean that seems like a timeless song then, which is cool, right? I
Yeah,
mean that's I feel like a lot of
yeah,
songwriters might labor their whole life to try and make something that just exists in every circumstance. Like they could play it outside, they could play it inside, they could play it, right? It helps to have songs that you can play for anyone in any circumstance.
yeah. True. Thank you.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah. And I another line that stuck out to me was like time will always be free, like that. Yeah, can you talk about
Yeah,
that a little bit? Like,
yeah, yeah. I do have a tendency to I'm a big list maker and like a goal setter, and I always have like way blown like overblown ideas of what I think I can do or want to do, and have like super high expectations of myself and
yeah.
also just of life. And
Mm,
so that was really coming into play a lot. I've gotten a little bit better about trying to temper my expectations of those things more
mm,
recently, but especially at that time I was really like excited about all these things that I hoped to do and be and all of that, but I was also a little bit burdened by it,
mm,
feeling like how am I ever going to do this? And a lot of them were really impractical things like I want to be a singer songwriter, and those are the kinds of things that like the world tends to tell you like that's not going to happen.
yeah.
Just go get a job and make a lot of money. And so I had all those things I felt like I was kind of being pushed in different directions, and I was really trying to hold on to a sense of myself and what I wanted for my life, and like
Mm,
trying to think about how I was going to do all of that. And
mm,
so the tell me time will always be there for free is like, I want to feel like the door's not going to close on things as I
mm,
get older. And I was really young when I was writing that. So it was
mm,
maybe kind of silly, but there was this sense at the time of like time is kind of open ended. Everyone tells you like, oh, you got to live it up in your 20s, and then later everything gets serious. So figure all your stuff out now, and then
mm,
you're going to have like a house and kids and job and all this stuff that you have to worry about. And so I had this sense, even though I wasn't sure that I wanted all of those things,
mm,
that like I had to somehow like experience all of this while I still could. And I
yep.
was looking ahead in my life and thinking like, why do we have to think of things that way?
Mm,
Like you're going to run out of time.
mm,
And at the end, we do all eventually run out of time.
mm,
But I was grasping for this feeling that like my life was going to feel more open ended than I felt like I was being told that it was.
yep.
Um, and I think, yeah, yeah, that pretty much sums that up.
Mm, mm. Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I love that you said like you're super organized and list maker and you have all these
Yeah.
dreams that are just they might be unrealistic. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about how you structure that mind? Like, yeah, just like how.
Yeah. I try to. Well, it's a weird thing with anything in the arts, I think, because you can have your lists and your goals and your strategy of how you're going to do that, and it's still an uncertain outcome no matter what you do. But I'll make myself like I have daily or semi-daily things that I want to achieve, like practice an hour of this or spend the whole night writing or something like that. But in terms of the broader picture, I try to give myself like I'll make a list of like things I want to do or try to achieve in the next 6 months, and
Mm,
then I'll break that down into like June, July, August, what I want to like try to do. And then
yep.
I just try to kind of every day and every week work towards those things that I have in mind. And like also really sort of try to detach from like the ego or expectation about what will happen afterwards or how that will reflect on me, and just think I just want to do this for the art
Mm,
and really like for the love of doing it. Because sometimes it can be hard, I think, when you put stuff out there like you don't get the response that you want, And like sometimes it's just like you have to just keep going and just try again, and like, and remember, you know, like I think we were talking about earlier, like you do this like kind of for yourself on some level and for the
Yep.
joy of doing it. So for me it's like a balance of that organized, like goal oriented mind, and then also kind of trying to quiet that mind down a little bit
Yep.
and just like sort of breathe in the moment.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah,
use
it's a blessing and a curse.
mm, yeah, sounds like it. Do you use notes on your iPhone or
I
on your
do.
phone?
Oh my God, I have so many of those. A lot of them are just like years old, and a lot of them are just like running. And then some of them are like grocery lists that I deleted half of and then forgot to delete. That's not very organized sounding, is it? But
Yeah, it notes is incredible.
honestly,
When they released
you
like
use them as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
when they released the folders like within the notes, yeah, I
Have
made
that?
yeah, you can create folders now.
Oh God.
And you
That's
can create
exciting.
folders within folders.
You're kind of blowing my mind right now, Nathan. I didn't know this.
Honestly, when I found out about folders, my day was gone.
Was
Yeah, like I spent the entire day just putting notes in their
into
respective
folders. Oh, I need to
folders
do that. I can't tell you how much I really need to do that.
because there's so much,
You,
right? I mean,
yeah.
I feel similar to you. Like, I mean, when I was 23, I remember telling Jason, you know Jason Scribner,
Oh yes.
and we were in the car driving, and I told him I just want to do everything.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. I
And
hear
it,
that, Nathan.
and it was so realistic. Like I remember really
Yeah.
feeling that way. And and what a guy. Like he was the first person to just be like, then do it.
Yeah.
Like he just
I
gave
love
me
that.
permission.
Yeah.
Like cuz that's
Just,
probably what I was looking for, right? I just wanted
yeah,
permission from
someone.
someone to say, you know, and he gave that to me. So I was like, "Oh, crap."
Thank you, Jason.
But also like now I have to do everything.
Right.
Because it's like
Which
a
is,
burden
it's,
too, right?
yeah, no, exactly. Well, as long as you, I think, don't beat yourself up for the everything that you maybe don't get to do or don't manage to do this week or this month or something. And
Mm,
it's funny. I've thought like there's that is it Benjamin Franklin who said never put off till tomorrow what you can do today. And I like find myself often having to tell myself it's okay to leave to tomorrow what you couldn't do today. And it sounds like you have a little bit of a similar thing,
yep.
which is like I want to do it all. And like I think it's kind of great, but it is necessary to take a step back and just let yourself be a little bit too.
Mm, definitely. Sleep is good, right?
Yeah. Sleep is good. Yeah. Yeah. I do have trouble sleeping sometimes. Do you?
Yeah, I've had to like watch some podcasts and things trying to figure out
Yes.
like, you know, certain things other people are doing, like turning off screen, you know, they're all pretty popular now. Turning off the screens like an hour before, like
Yeah.
eating at the perfect time so that you're not
Yeah.
hungry, but you're also not like, you know, all those things.
Still digesting and it's keeping you awake. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got really into ASMR videos actually.
Mm.
They really help
I've never tried
like
that.
lull me into it. You should check it out. I'll send you a link after this. They
Awesome.
really lull you into a sleepy state that just like I don't know. It's kind of a it's like a euphoric sleepiness. It's
Mm.
pretty wonderful. Yeah, there's all manner of them. Some people it's like they respond well to like chewing sounds. That one freaks me out. I don't get
Yeah.
that, but like they do like whispers and like hair brushing sounds will put me to sleep in 5 minutes flat. So
What?
that's been like I stumbled across this um actually the only one that I watch is Gentle Whispering ASMR with Maria.
What?
She's like a goddess. She's amazing. Yeah. She changed my life. I was like, because sometimes I would just lie awake and think about things and like my brain would just be racing. It's like I put my
What?
headphones in and Maria starts whispering to me and I'm just like, I just fall asleep.
What does she say?
she'll create these like hair brushing sounds or like tapping sounds, and they all trigger like this super sleepy, euphoric feeling. Or she'll sometimes whisper, I guess, just certain words create this response. And so sometimes she'll just, in this really trance-like way, like repeat these words over and over in this really sleepy fashion. She'll do like these super sleepy hand motions. It's like hypnosis or something.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing.
That's
It
wild.
works. Yeah, I've tried like soothing music and like enough, and my mind still races. And then only Maria calms me down and puts me to sleep.
Cool. Well, I wanted to
She's
talk
pretty
about
legit.
the some of the recording of Patchwork Sky.
Yeah. So we did it all acoustically. In the studio, we used, I think it was an upright piano. Um, and so we just recorded everything organically: piano, guitar, voice, cello. Um, and I wrote this song a long time ago, and some changes I put it through, like I changed the key and stuff like that, and maybe some arrangement, but it was really kind of ready to go from the time that we got into the studio. So there wasn't
Hmm.
like a workshopping process. And I kind of had early on a really clear idea of what I wanted it to sound like and what I wanted to do with it. So we
Hmm.
kind of just hit the ground running on it, and like it came together pretty quickly and pretty easily. And it was like, I wanted it to have like a kind of spareness to it, but
Hmm.
be a little bit lush at the same time with like the cello and the piano and all of that. So everything with that really kind of just fell into place. We did record an acoustic piano rather than a keyboard because we wanted it to have a really kind of organic sound like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was one of those ones that it kind of everything just kind of fell into place really, really nicely.
That's so sweet. And that, yeah, you, that's so nice to hear because usually a lot of artists, and I remember this one conversation I had with a girl that just recorded her album, and I didn't know who
Uh-huh.
she was, but she was talking about it, and she was just like, I hate my album.
Oh no.
Yeah, and it was,
Oh.
yeah, and I still
Oh
remember it, and
God.
I just like deep sorrow when I think about it
Oh, that's
because
so
like
sad.
I know, and it wasn't like I don't know if it was the production or what happened, but somewhere along that
The
process,
process.
it just it
Yeah.
changed the songs for her, right? Maybe she just had to do things so many times. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
maybe.
it's a careful process.
Oh, yeah, it can be. I mean, I've definitely not with this one in particular, but I've definitely encountered like frustrating moments or like been trying to figure out what to do with a song before where like I felt like I was hitting a wall, but I don't know if I've ever gotten to that kind of point. That would break my heart. So
Yeah.
I
Like
hope
she
she
wouldn't
gets to do
play.
another one.
Yeah, like she wouldn't
Really?
play her songs live. That was the thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh
And it was
no.
yeah. So, yeah, I think that sort of
That's
those
kind
sort
of
of
devastating.
yeah, those sort of stories like make me think about the recording process a lot and like how we can make that really a good process for songwriters,
Right.
just like playing the song live and writing the song
Exactly.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a different thing because I feel like you really in the recording process put everything under a microscope. You know, people say that a lot, and it's like I definitely think that looking at the song that way can change your view and your feeling about it. And depending on who you're working with and what your kind of environment or circumstances are like, I could see how it could become really really trying. And yeah, if you're not looking through the right lens, I mean, I guess you could end up in a really kind of bad place with it. But I've been pretty lucky with that
Mm,
so far. So
that's so awesome. I
hope it
really
hope it lasts.
yeah, I really like the way the acoustic sounds too. Like sometimes you'll hear it in the space between the chord progressions and like
Yeah.
that, especially the one time where it kind of slides through.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I know you're learning guitar. Did you play acoustic on this one?
I did not know. This one has some chords that I don't know, and my good friend Carl wanted to contribute to some of the process, so he helped me out with that.
That's
But I'm
awesome.
learning. I'm getting there, slowly but surely, and I'm starting to get out of first position a little bit. So I hope to be able to like have some. This song I wrote on piano before I ever played guitar, and my hope is to have songs that I can play on either one, and this is one of the ones that I'd like to someday be able to do on guitar, but not quite there yet. I did record the piano though.
Hmm. Yeah. And there's just like a little bit of percussion in there. Um,
There is,
yeah,
yeah.
what were those instruments?
Yeah, Caleb recorded, actually, he did use a drum kit. I believe it was primarily a tom and then cajon and congas. So those were
Hmm.
the three kind of main components of that. But he did, I initially actually was thinking just hand percussion was going to be fine. And I was a little bit skeptical about the use of a kit because like I think that having a little bit of that tom kind of feeling will give it a gravity that's really nice. And he was totally right. Once I heard it all together, I was really excited about it.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
a couple of shakers in there as well. So yeah, I think.
Hmm.
Am I thinking of a different song? I think that
That
there's
can
shakers in
happen.
there. I
That
can't.
can happen.
We've been working on another one recently
Mm.
because we're working up to an EP which we've had to pause in right now with the shutdown and everything. But there's another one that has shakers that kind of sounds to me like crickets, and I might have been thinking of that right now.
Ah, sounds like crickets. That's not. Is that one also like a nature song? Like, is the song?
it it is, yeah. It's called Where the Wind Lays Heavy. I feel like it's a little less naturey than Patchwork Sky, but it's still pretty. Like all my stuff has a lot of
Hmm.
nature in it. It's just in there. So yeah,
Hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah. The coronavirus is still impacting everyone, isn't it?
it it is. Yeah, it's. I'm really lucky that. I mean, no one I know directly has gotten sick. I'm just like counting my blessings on that.
Mm.
And the isolation thing has definitely been pushing my introvertedness to its limits and
Mm.
putting it to the test.
How would you say? Would you describe yourself as an introvert then?
I would. It's like I feel like I'm a little bit of an ambivert, but I'm definitely like I love spending time with people that I'm close to and like meeting new people and seeing new places, having new experiences. But I definitely am someone who recharges through solitude. Even if I go
Mm.
out and have a great time, it's like I
Mm.
need to go back to a quiet place and that's where I like regain my energy.
Mm.
So on some level, like kind of being alone and being quiet definitely comes comes naturally to me, and I tend to be a little bit more creative when I kind of have like a sense of not having outside obligations and have some quiet time.
Mhm.
But it's on a different level when you also don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, so as much as I would like to like go take a walk by myself, you can still take a walk, but like go somewhere by myself and have like a kind of isolated but still connected experience just to the world.
Mhm.
um so so that's been different lately and a little bit more challenging, but yeah, I'd say I'm like 70% introverted,
Mm.
30% extroverted probably.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that, having a quiet,
Yeah,
kind of safe place that you can recharge.
yeah,
But one thing I've noticed that I didn't think about so much before was I really like meeting new people.
yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, yeah, right. It's pretty difficult to meet new people now. Like in the grocery
Right.
store,
These
they're not gonna
you're
really
like
receive you
behind your
so
mask.
much.
I know. It's
Yeah.
a Yeah, it's a weird thing. I did feel like going to the grocery store, at least initially, like everyone was super respectful and friendly, but it's definitely all from a distance. And like
Mm,
everyone was like trying to like make sure not to bump into people. And like I did accidentally bump into someone and I was like, I'm so sorry. I felt really,
exactly.
you just feel like you're really not supposed to do that. She's like, it's okay, it's okay. You know, it was like, it
Mm,
was kind of nice to see people being so nice in a difficult time, but
Yep.
yeah, you're not gonna be like shaking the table and stuff in the same way. And you feel like you're not supposed to sit and talk to someone, which you're not, because
Yep.
that's how stuff spreads. But it makes it much harder to get to know somebody if you're everyone has the sense that they're supposed to keep in their own bubble behind the mask
Yep.
and go about their business. So
Yeah, and I think
yeah,
like the thing that I love about meeting new people is like with certain people you feel like immediately like you've known them for years.
forever.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that is something like really special that yeah, it's just always really interested me. It's like the people that like the band will be playing a song or whatever and then like we'll take a break and I'm like walking around and then I
yeah,
just end up talking to someone that I've never talked to before or anything. And then we're hugging, right? And
yeah.
we're talking about like something very strange, very like deep, and it's just like this is yeah. I mean that's something like of what I long for, I think, and
Yeah,
um, so that's like the one piece that I haven't. It's been hard to get. It's been hard to yeah to experience that.
yeah. No, I hope that you can again soon. But I know what you mean. It's like there's something you kind of just click with someone and it's outside of, because you get to know people and you know things about them, but you can still
Mm,
connect with someone like that on a really deep level, not knowing anything about them. You just have this kind of intrinsic, like subconscious connection, and it's kind of amazing when that happens just out of the blue with someone you've never met before. So yeah, I hope that those kinds of opportunities are available again soon. But it's hard. It's a weird thing to not know when. We
mm.
all want like okay, we want a definitive answer of when things are going to happen, and it's the situation is not it's not one where you can really have that right now. So
Yeah, I think on the other kind of side of the spectrum with that I've like the relationships and the people that I do know, I feel like I've been
yeah,
challenged to make those stronger, which I've
yes.
never really been that good at, to be honest. Because I'm always
Really,
looking for
really
well, I'm just always looking for some new person to like have this
new.
crazy connection with.
I
And that
gotcha.
inspires songs. So then it gets reinforced and I keep doing it. But
Oh,
yeah,
I see.
um, this whole time has been just like, all right, like yeah, who are those people that you've had that like right when you met them, you had that crazy connection, and now you have the
Yeah.
opportunity to go deeper with them.
Yeah, build on that. That makes sense. Well, so that's cool. So you're getting like an opportunity slash universe pushing you to like grow in this other different way. That's kind of cool. That's a good way to think about it. I like that.
Yeah, that's what these Atelier talks have been about, really.
That's so neat.
Because yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much everyone that I'm interviewing is someone that I met and was like, and we just connected immediately, and it
Yeah,
was great. And
exactly.
now we get to continue doing that.
Exactly. And build on it. No, I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah. So, but have you? So you kind of reached. For me, I don't know, just because I'm in Los Angeles and sometimes I would never reach the end where I'd be like, okay, I haven't had enough time by myself in the quiet to write,
Yeah.
to organize all of
Yeah.
my mind's wants and everything. But
Right.
yeah, for the first time, like I've definitely reached the end of that.
No, exactly.
Like, yo,
No, because
I need to
I
like
need to see
get out of
somebody.
my head. Like,
No, exactly. No, yeah, I at some point I reached a point where I was just like sitting on the couch and I felt like this feeling of like futility, and I just like started to cry at a certain
yeah.
point because I was like, it's like, I don't know, if you live in your head to some extent, it's like the world, you can sometimes feel like the world exists in your mind a little bit, and like it sort of feels like a safe place.
Mm,
But it isn't always, and like you need sometimes other people to like remind you of certain things and ground you and reflect different things back to you about yourself than you might necessarily see, or what you would,
mm.
the focus that you would turn on yourself. And so when you're left alone with yourself for too long, yeah, there's a point where it's like, I just need to speak to someone else about something that's not in my own mind, you know.
Yes.
And it's like it like doing this and
Mm,
like talking to my mom on the phone and stuff is great, but there is something about that in person thing that
yeah.
you still just miss. Yeah.
It's true. It's true. Like you
So
feel it. There's like something missing.
yeah,
And it makes
yeah,
sense. Like we were definitely meant to
yeah.
connect beyond the interwebs.
Yes, we are creatures after all, I think first. And
Mm,
sometimes it's easy to forget that with all of our like trappings of civilization and technology and things like that. You feel sort of removed from your creatureness, but like that's still a big part of us. And like
mm,
I think that physical like, you know, company and connection and connectivity to the world is a big part of us. So yeah, when this was first started, I thought, well, I'll be fine. I'm an
right.
isolated, like tendency kind of person. This isn't going to be a thing. And I definitely reached the point like you were talking about, where it's like, yeah, okay, I found where my limit is for being a
Mm.
hermit, and it's a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I've been thinking about like the word responsibility and trying to put that to make
Yeah,
sense of some of that because I'll get overwhelmed like we're talking about um
yeah,
in my own head and I've kind of started to realize that it's because I'm just like I'm responsible in a sense because it kind of started with in my head, you know, like an idea maybe.
yeah,
And so
right,
I feel responsible for that idea. Like I feel like
yeah,
I have to like carry that out or I have to like organize it or whatever it is. And then there's just gets to a point where like I'm responsible for too many things that my
yeah,
physical like I'm limited by my mind and my physical
right.
body. And but as soon as you share that with someone else, right? Like there's this magical thing that happens where like that responsibility is shared.
Is shared. Yeah,
Yeah. And then you can kind of let go of some of it, right? Because it's like, oh, well, like they feel that way too.
exactly. Yeah. Well, it's yeah, it's a collaborative moment that you have, and it I think that there's like it's both that, you know, it takes a little bit of the weight off your shoulders, like you said about responsibility, and then there's also just a joy in sharing that kind of stuff with somebody else too.
Mm,
That's kind of exciting in a different way. Sort of like if you write something, you can be really excited about it, but then there's something about taking it and sharing it to someone else and having their response to it, or you know, it inspires something in them, whether it's like another creative person who's going to take it and like write something else or add to it, or play a different instrument over it, or just someone who wants to listen. It's like you have this interaction that it's just it builds on the excitement that you had with it by yourself. And I think it's really nice when it happens. I miss that too.
yeah, and I feel that with producers, like even like when I was making music under my own name and stuff, it was pretty
Yeah,
hard for me to release music, like recording it myself and things. But as soon as I went to a producer, and right, it's kind of what we were talking about. It was shared, and they got
yeah,
excited about some things of the song, and I was like, oh wow, okay. And then like it gave me that confidence to finish the song and to share it.
yeah, yeah,
Um, it sounds like you've found like a recording process that is working for you.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it has been. I record right now with I've sort of, I guess I have done the opposite of you, and I was recording and doing stuff with the band, and now I've
Mm,
switched back to doing it under my own name. But I'm
yeah.
working with one of my former bandmates to produce and record the EP, and so he's like been familiar with my music for a few years and stuff like that, and has a good sense of kind of the spirit and the sound of
Mm,
it. And so we work very collaboratively to produce stuff as we go, and like pretty much try to come to total agreement on whatever we decide. And we tend to have pretty similar, and I think kind of compatible responses to things. Like we'll hear something that we like, and we both tend to like it. So it's
mm,
worked out to be like this cohesive thing, where rather than being like an argument, like I really like this and he really doesn't, or really thinks that it needs to be
mm,
something else, we
mm.
tend to agree. And if we don't, it's like, well, why do you want this other take? I really think this is strong. We have a discussion about it. So it's been
Yeah.
a nice like very healthy, collaborative, and kind of like we're both very easygoing people at the same time. We're
Mm,
like, precise about stuff, but like pretty low drama, like mellow energy personality. So it's
mm,
created a very nice kind of peaceful atmosphere where it's like it's a safe space to express your feelings and opinions and really kind of throw yourself out there and create stuff. So yeah, it's been really good.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
How did you get
Yeah.
into music?
How did I get into music?
Yeah,
Oh my
how did it
gosh.
start? We've never talked
Way
about this.
way back. I actually I started out singing classical music.
Mm,
I there was a choir at my high school that did like Renaissance music. That's
mm,
not going to surprise you much, I
nope.
guess. And I was really inspired by that and was like,
Mm,
I want to like sing in this choir. And so
mm,
then that kind of branched off into me singing opera. And I was
mm,
really committed to singing opera. I also took piano lessons as a kid, but I kind of abandoned that for a while I was developing as an opera singer.
mm,
And then one day when I was in school, like my freshman year of college, I just for some reason after I was singing through an aria or something, I started tinkering around on the piano and wrote like this little melody.
mm,
And then from that day it just kind of grew where I kind of kept writing melodies, and eventually I kind of started writing lyrics. And then I think maybe a year or two after that, somewhere down the line, I was like, I really want to write songs and be a singer songwriter. And so I did this kind
mm,
of left turn and really started to pursue that. And I spent all my time writing music, and
mm,
anything that I wrote during that time is like not stuff that I play or record now. Those were all kind of like learning songs that helped me develop my sound and what I really wanted to write and wanted to do. But that was how that progression happened. It really started with singing.
mm,
I used to record myself when I was a kid on this little tape recorder,
mm.
even younger than that, I guess, when I was 10, along to Celine Dion tracks.
Yes.
And I would listen back and I was like, this doesn't sound very good. Maybe I need some voice lessons. So
Ah,
that's where yeah, I had a wonderful teacher here in Reading. She passed away about 10 years ago, which was really sad, but she was an amazing human being and instilled so much joy and really appreciation for the process and a real love of singing. So that's where
mm,
that launched from. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Have you had a period of time where you took a break from music?
That's a good question. I've never had a time where I completely stopped doing it. I have had times when I was undecided about the direction I wanted to go or what I wanted to do next. Like, I was playing with a band a couple of years ago, and the band split up. Um, and I didn't know if I wanted to try to like make things in the vein of what we'd been making or go in this other direction, if I wanted to go back under my own name or try to start a new
Mm,
thing. And so that was a period of just being like, I don't know what to do next. And so I spent maybe
mm,
6 to 8 months or something like that, kind of playing, but not really doing a lot, not writing very much. And then that kind of came to an end when like something popped in my head and I was playing it and I suddenly had a new song. And then suddenly I had an idea for the EP that I wanted to do. And it's like everything just kind of became clear about the next direction I wanted to take. And so I've had like maybe a couple of times like that where I was just kind of trying to think about things and figure things out. But I never had a time where I was like, I'm done with music or I'm going to stop doing it and then decided to come back to it. I might have had like a day when I felt that way and then
mm,
tried to let go. And it was like, this is just such a part of me. I can't like put it
mm,
down. It would be like taking something out of myself and trying to like
mm.
get rid of it to stop doing it. It's just like
Yeah.
one of those things that just it really didn't feel possible for me not to do music. It just is really essential.
Mm,
So yeah, those are only times that I felt like I kind of set it aside for a little while, was when I was really undecided. I still played and still like played my instruments and kind of tried to write here and there, but it's a little hard, I think, sometimes to write if you feel in yourself, like in your spirit, kind of unfocused or confused. It's like the channels
Mm,
don't are not clear enough for you
yeah.
to write something that feels kind of like honest and true to yourself, because it's like, I don't know what's going on in there.
Coronavirus.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Have you written a bunch? It's been a little tough for me to write, to be honest.
I haven't written a whole lot. I've kind of been working on things that I wrote a little bit before this all happened, because before that I was having kind of a creative time. And so
Yes.
I've tried to take those
Ah.
things and experiment with like different arrangements, or like
Mm-hmm.
alternate tunings on the guitar, or like
Exactly.
doing a piano version.
Yep.
I did start writing something, a new song, uh 2 or 3 days ago, that I got really excited about. And
Yep.
but that was kind of the first time recently that I've had a new thing that I wrote. For the
Yeah.
most part, it's been like trying to work on interpretations of stuff that I already have. Because,
Yeah. I
you
felt
know,
a lot of motivation in that direction for sure. Like, right, like
yeah,
recording and finishing things, because there's
exactly.
like this push. Like, I feel like I've gotten an adrenaline rush,
Yeah,
but not, but like what you were describing about feeling focused and like true and honest and in a place where you can write a full, like basically paint a full picture, right?
exactly.
Like it's hard for me to have an idea, especially if it's just
Yeah,
like a verse or a line, and then
yeah,
like few days later turn it into a song.
exactly.
Usually it kind of has to be the whole thing,
Has to be. That makes sense.
at least a theme. I don't know. I've had a lot of way more ideas not turn into anything than
Oh,
like actual songs not turn into anything, if that makes sense. Yeah.
sure. I understand. It's like you have an idea or a piece, and then that kind of goes away, rather than like writing a whole song that then you don't do anything with. Is that what you mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
understand. I totally get that.
so if I
Yeah,
make it to a certain point,
then
usually it's
that's,
like, oh, like this is something worth keeping or recording, sharing,
yes.
something.
Yeah, I think I'm very similar. I think we're very similar in that way. I have like I was saying, the iPhone full of notes from
Mm,
like forever, and like there's a bunch of little notes in there that, like you're saying, didn't make it into a song or didn't become something, and they kind of fell by the wayside. But
yep.
at a certain point, it's like once I become invested, it's like this is something that's worth pursuing all the way. So I
I
hear
found
you.
I found out now too that you can put voice memos in notes. How do you do that?
I don't know, those are totally separate, but you're like opening my mind to all the capabilities of my phone's organizational functions. No, that's
Honestly,
awesome.
what else have I been like to do during this whole thing? It's like I've just been, like trying to organize all of these ideas that I
No,
had
that's
before.
amazing.
And it's like, oh my goodness, I can just put like all in one place. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to do that. I have so many voice memos. I think actually we were texting about this. I have an
Yeah.
embarrassing, really overwhelming number of voice memos from like 2015 or something. I don't even
S-
know how many. It's
Some of them might be great. Imagine if you
I,
come across an idea that you still feels just like your song Patchwork Sky.
it's true.
Like
Yeah.
that's why I go back, because sometimes I'll hear things and it'll be like, ah, this, I feel this still. Like I feel
Yeah.
it today. And if I don't feel it, I delete it.
Yeah. Right.
Because there's so many of
that's
them that I'm
that's the
just like,
only way to do it. Yeah. No,
yeah.
exactly. That's a good idea. I started, it was way before this happened. I was like, I'm gonna go through all my voice memos, and I made it through like 20 and deleted a bunch of them and listened
Hmm.
to a couple, and I was like, I don't know if I'm able to listen to all of these. I might have to just arbitrarily cut off at like 2017, delete
Yeah.
everything before that, and then start
Oh
listening. I don't know.
man. It's heavy. It's
It
heavy.
is.
Yeah. Yeah, I can only take so much at a time for sure. And well, it's interesting. Notes can get like once you do folders within folders, and I think I have
Yeah.
430. Once
Oh
you
wow.
spend enough time in notes, like going through it, there's a delay. Like it's done. And so it's actually
Oh
been a really good thing for me, because it's like, oh, it's skipping. I can't do this anymore.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it
So it
takes
like
like
gives you a
20
cutoff.
minutes or something. Yeah. And then I'm like,
I
okay,
see.
hey, I'll come back to this.
I have to stop this for now. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like music really like sustains you from the way you talk about it.
Sometimes, or in a lot of my music, there's like some darker kind of themes or heavier kind of themes, and imagery, and people often are like, you seem so like bright and like happy and smiley. I don't understand, like your music seems totally different. And it's like, it's actually a really big part of who I am, and
Mm,
my music is a way of kind of letting that breathe a little bit. And like without it, I really don't know what I would be like as a person. It's kind of like that gives that part of me that can get, like, when sad things happen or difficult things happen, I can get really like down in those feelings and really sink into them. And music gives me like an outlet for that, that is so essential. And also just like the part of my brain that just kind of keeps rolling or churning with things, it gives me like something to create from that. Otherwise I
mm,
think I would drive myself crazy, even with like my good thoughts and good feelings and all of that. Sometimes it's just too much. And so music is like, it really came out of this point in my life and this place in myself where like I just needed to create something. And music was like the thing that I started creating that made me feel like I found my purpose and like my place and what I was supposed to be doing with the particular things about who I was and the particular things that I had inside. And I really don't think I could live without it. Honestly,
mm,
it's, yeah, it's totally essential to me, just being me. Yeah, I did for a short period of time. It's funny, you were asking me earlier if I went through a time when I didn't do music, and I actually may have repressed this year of my life when I worked at a magazine, and I
mm,
was so overworked. It was actually around the time that I wrote Patchwork Sky. I was so overworked and like so compressed in that job that I didn't write anything or do anything musical for a year. And I was so depressed and racked
mm,
with like anxiety, and I had panic attacks. I just reached this point where I was like, I can't live like this anymore. I don't care if this is someone else's dream job. Like I can't do this. If I can't like do music, I'm not even like, I didn't even feel like a person anymore. I just felt like a walking like skeleton of like anxiety and frustration. And
mm.
I planned to quit and go, I was going to work retail and like kind of like throw myself all into music. And then they fired me like a week before I was planning to quit.
Wow.
And I remember walking out. And it's like a pretty humiliating thing on some level to be fired. I think it's happened to a lot of us. I had to like pack up my stuff and leave.
I've
Yeah,
been
right. It's
there.
happened. Yeah. I had to pack up my stuff and leave that day. And
Mm.
I should have probably felt like bad on some level, but I was like, hallelujah, I am free. I had this like overwhelmingly like wonderful feeling. And
Mm,
I remember they like, I'm sure they're expecting me to like be upset or something, like we just don't think it's a good fit and we're going to have to let you. And I was like, you know what? I agree. Like, I
yeah.
think that I was like, it's totally fine. I wish you guys the best. And I walked out
Mm,
of there and it was just like, and it was a really good change for me. And like
mm.
I went home, and that week I wrote like 3 songs.
Wow.
Like, and
Wow.
it was like this moment of personal and artistic rebirth for me. So I should have mentioned that when you asked me if I had a time that I didn't do music. I think I just repressed that time so far
Totally.
back in my
Yeah.
head because it was a really bad time. But yeah, a lot of good things came out of it. And I really did help me to realize how essential it is for me to do music and be involved in that, because it was a rough year for me not doing that.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, so kind of the opposite. Could you describe a little bit of the psychology or like the healing that you feel when you
From
think
doing
about
music.
music? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I feel like it's like something really terrible can be happening, or I can be really sad or really angry about something. And there's this kind of crazy thing that happens when you go to write a song about it,
Mm,
when it's like it doesn't necessarily flip on its head, but it's like from this feeling of this really difficult feeling or turmoil or whatever, there's this real joy that comes out of that when you create a song from it. And it's just like, I don't know, it's like this crazy form of chemistry or something, where you take something bad, and even if the song that you write is sad or something, you make something good from it. And
Mm,
it's like then you have this thing that you've created that lives in the world. I think it's like people who write songs think of them as like their children.
yep.
And I don't have children, and so I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of other complicated factors in that as well, and I know there's sleep deprivation and everything that goes along with that, but there's this real pure joy of this thing that like you brought into the world. And I
Mm,
think even like if you're writing about something happy, it's like it magnifies that. um I don't know, it's hard for me to describe. It's just, it's like, I mean, I know it's like it's cathartic and it's release and gives you a feeling of purpose, but it's also just like, I don't know, it just it allows the things that you feel to live in you and in the world in a different way
mm,
than they can just even talking about it
mm-hmm,
or experiencing it. It's like it takes it to this other place, and then the possibility that someone else feels something from that is a whole other
mm.
element of it that I think is really beautiful as well.
Yep. That's
And
it.
that's and I
Yeah.
think that that's a big part of the healing too, is seeing if it can heal or bring joy or relief to someone else.
Yep.
And it's like that's the stuff that just it makes you like want to cry in a good way.
Yeah. Well, thank God for music and thank
I
God for
know.
you
Oh,
for
thank God for
sharing
you as well,
your
Nathan.
gift. Yeah, and thank
You're
you
the
so much
best.
for doing this. It's been super nice. Um,
Yeah.
and for
It's
everyone listening, please go check out Megan's music. Um, yeah, get healed.
Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, all of us, I think, is important. I really appreciate you talking to me, Nathan. It's been really fun and very healing to talk to you
Mm,
about all of this stuff. We got into some really good things.
right on. Well, we'll
Love it.
talk soon. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.